Neighbors. Neighbors? Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Schenk, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty here in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know, over the years I've seen a lot of things in real estate, and I wanted to kind of bring them to you from my perspective, and just kind of learn from you, the community, and just it's a very bizarre time. We have laws that may or may not be followed, may or may not be prosecuted. We have traditions that may or may not be reasonable. We have unwritten rules, but we're all on this plan together. And some of the more fascinating things I've run into in my real estate career is just what to do about the neighbors. And so, I don't want to fight with my neighbor, but if my neighbor has a boat outside and, I'm trying to sell my house, the grass is 3 feet tall, my house is probably not going to sell for as much money as it could just because of my neighbor. And while it is your neighbor's property and they should be able to do what they want to with it, I mean, should they? And the same thing goes with HOAs. Having a great HOA is a wonderful thing until they start getting a little nitpicky, or the president, turns into a Nazi, and all of a sudden now you've got all kinds of issues that you never had before and haven't had for 50 years. I enjoy things like landlord-tenant disputes. I was a property manager for a while. Not cut out for that, and quite frankly, just not cut out for anything where you just have to be a jerk all the time, and it's just not who I am. And so we're going to go around and do this. The podcast is going to be led by you. If you have a story about your neighbor, if you have a story about your landlord, if you have a story, something that happened, real estate agents are kind of fun. I must every week get at least one or two stories from somebody that I've met about how their real estate agent was a jerk, or how they were incompetent, or just any number of things, or they've dealt with. And I kind of like to hear it. It's like listening to a train wreck. Being in the business, I know how some things go. I know how I do things, and I know where I've seen problems in the past. And it's really hard to teach somebody. I mean, unless you do it a lot, you're going to have problems. And so we'll talk about those things. So I have this phone number, and if you call it, just leave a voicemail, and maybe we'll talk about it on the show sometime. It's 314-274-3964, 314-274-3964. So yeah, call me, leave a message, and let's go over some of these oddities. And so just to start off, I'll tell you something that I'm perplexed by in my own neighborhood. And I use a neighbor word. I don't know where the guy lives. I don't know if he's in my neighborhood, if he's in my subdivision or what, but a couple of years ago, we used to walk and read a book at the same time. And I don't know if that's what you want to do, that's fine. No big deal. But about 6 months ago, we got to a new phase of strange. He dropped the book, and what he does now is he walks, but then he sort of stumbles forward in a sort of jogging motion, and then he slows down, and it looks like he's dying. It looks like he's having a medical issue. Every 500 feet or so. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know any books that teach like stuttering while you're running or attempting to run. I don't know if that burns calories. I don't know what it is. It's just weird. It's strange, and I don't understand it. But that's the joy of living in a subdivision. So tell me your stories. Let's go over stuff. I don't know how to handle everything. I don't know the rules anymore. So let's just go about this. We're all on the same planet together, and let's figure this out. My goals would be one subscriber that's not a family member. So I think I'm at 5. If I could get one more, that would be good. But other than that, let's go to the first story. I normally can post them on the screen when I'm reading them, but this one's being a jerk, and so I'll just read it to you, or the parts of it. So, Porterville family receives a racially charged letter from a neighbor, and so that's a hell of a headline. I'll put the link in the description, but let's go through this. So, Porterville, California. A family in Porterville is now speaking out after receiving a letter in the mail from alleged neighbors criticizing their race and claiming they're making the neighborhood look cheap and dirty. As you go through it, they apparently started a food truck business during the pandemic, and they put their trailer on their drive, and they store the food truck on the driveway. And then they got a letter in the mailbox on a Sunday. So we know that it wasn't through the U.S. Postal Service. And it says that they complain about the dumpster outside the home, and complains about it stinking so bad and being rotten with flies and maggots. So these folks have started their own business, and then they put a dumpster out in the front of their house with it's a seafood business, and then they're in California, and I suspect it's pretty hot and miserable. And so the article says the couple says they got the threatening letter in the mail on Sunday. The letter complains about the family's dumpster and food truck and threatens to have them ticketed and evicted. As a quote, "Your trailer stinks and it has maggots and flies. It's no wonder why the whole country looks down on Asians." Now, I don't know if these people are Asian or not. I didn't know there was a consensus that we look down on Asians. I don't know anything about this. I don't know. It goes on to say, in quotes, "You've taken a nice, clean neighborhood and made it look cheap and dirty and run down. We will be talking to the owner about the property, about having you removed and evicted from this neighborhood. Thanks for the rotten smell." And then it says the letter says it's not from all your neighbors, but most. And so the couple, they're obviously upset about this. It says, they said, "We're not the only ones in the neighborhood with dumpsters. There's a few residents as well that have it, and trailers as well. It's definitely clean. We keep it clean and we keep it in our property. I feel the problem isn't about the trailer. It's more about racism." She was quoted, I just want to make sure I wasn't in the wrong. I didn't want to get nothing towed or a fine or nothing. They were told by code enforcement that as long as it's only being stored at the home and not operated for less than 3 days at a time, it's completely legal. So their food trailer can be on the property as long as they're, not operated for less than 3 days at a time. It's completely legal. And so I have questions. What would you do? Like, I don't have any issues with people starting their own business. I work out of my own house. Okay. I think it's stupid to have an office. I don't have any clients come over, or very rarely. And it's people that I know. So here these people are, they started a seafood business, and they've got a trailer, and now they've got apparently a dumpster in the front of the house, and we can only assume that it's a bunch of seafood that's left rotting. So what do you do? We can assume they're renters because it says they were being threatened, being evicted. But is there a better way to have handled this? And the article doesn't really say if the dumpster's allowed in the street. Dumpsters, gosh, let's talk about dumpsters for a second. So if you're doing a big construction project at your house, if you're remodeling a bathroom, if you're remodeling a kitchen, bringing in a dumpster makes a lot of sense. Okay. Storing seafood in your dumpster for weeks on end in hot weather in the front of your house, that's probably going to piss off the neighbors. It doesn't seem like a good idea. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is okay. So now someone has a smelly dumpster in front of their yard, and some neighbors walking by. Now, the article says not all your neighbors, but most. So, who's doing the polling is my question. I mean, did they all decide? Like, how do these things happen? Like, do we all just get around in a circle and say, that dumpster stinks? I know, I'll write a racially charged letter. It just seems like a bad idea, all around. But that's why I've come to the internet. That's because I don't know what to do. If you go and you talk to the person and you say, look, could you move the dumpster? Would that work? And would that have been better than writing an anonymous letter? I suspect so. But people are crazy these days. So anyway, that's my story for today. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description below, and then and let's just go over that. I mean, what would you do if your neighbor started a seafood business during the pandemic, and now is putting their dumpster out in the front yard? I mean, I don't condone racism of any kind. I don't think that the world looks down on Asians. I think that was a little bit ridiculous. I don't support anonymous letters to people's houses. And unless you guys think it's a good idea to write an anonymous letter to somebody, the majority wins, okay, I guess. I just don't understand why anybody thought it'd be a good idea to put a dumpster out in front of their yard with seafood. And then, again, I don't understand why anybody thought it'd be a good idea to write an anonymous letter that says that your dumpster is terrible. And so that's the first one. We're starting our podcast on a smelly dumpster, and Lord only knows where we're going to go from here. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Like I said, if you could subscribe, that'd be great. But I understand, you can only have so many subscriptions, and some of them have to be decent. So do whatever you'd like, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.